red. All right, we are live. I'm Matt Powers. Welcome again to Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Company. We're here in the theater again today, and we have a special guest. Clyde of Clyde's Garden Planner is here to share some incredible information with us and something that everyone should have. So here we go. Come on, Clyde.
Thank you, Matt. I'm so glad to be here at Baker Creek, and one of my favorite companies in all the world. And I brought my vegetable planting slide chart along, and also a little slideshow to kind of explain how the chart works to you. If you've never seen one before, you need one of these. If you're a vegetable grower, it's very handy. I mean, really handy. Okay. This is me. We've sold over 200,000 of these charts, and they work throughout most of North America. Wherever there's a frost issue, it's sold as Clyde's Garden Planner, and it's also sold customized. We customize them for retail stores, and they use them as a promotional and teaching item. There's also quite a few master gardener groups that are actually using the chart. And they want their name on it too, and they use it as a fundraiser. Can you believe that? This is a nice sized picture of the chart, and you'll notice the list of vegetables is over on the right. And then we have a sliding frost line here, and there is a horizontal calendar. You'll notice a horizontal calendar across the top. And you'll see some red lettering here on the slide, some little green checks, and some other little marks here, and some blue lettering over on the right. Okay, and we'll try to go over that in more detail. I think that'll help, yes? You might keep in mind that each column here represents a week. And what you do is you slide this red frost line to your local frost date. Now, if you live up north, your frost date's closer to June. Northern Wisconsin, my brother's up there. He can set his chart to around June. If you live down in Louisiana or in the southern regions of the United States, you slide the frost line into February. One of that, or into you have an earlier frost. Okay. We set ours at April 15th. It's a really easy day to remember because it's the day that the tax man comes. And I mark mine, with a marker on it, and I put a lanyard on it so I can hang it on my grow table. And now, once it's in place, now each column here is a week. And there's symbols to help you get started with your garden early and to know when you're going to get your produce out of it. It has a spring side of the chart, and there's also a fall side. And here's the list of vegetables: onions, peas, spinach, cabbage, cauliflower, radishes, beets, potatoes, broccoli, lettuce, carrots, chard. I love Swiss chard. And green beans, sweet corn, cucumbers, squash, melons, peppers, tomatoes, okra, and pumpkins. And maybe you grow some other things, but besides that, but this should be the majority probably, Now when you look really close at the slide, what you find is that each column is a week, and FP is the first outdoor planting week. So, and it kind of cascades down. The cold crops, the earlier crops, plant ahead of the frost, and the warmer crops plant after the danger of frost is past. And let me just back up a couple of slides to show you that. Peas and spinach and cabbage, they're planting out ahead of the frost. Tomatoes and peppers and okra, they're very tender to the frost. You have to wait until after the frost-free date. The frost-free date is incorporated into my chart. Typically, it's 4 weeks after the average. Now, if you look closer here, you'll notice that there's an SI. This is the indoor seeding dates, so you know when to put your flats out in the house. My wife lets me clear an area in the living room where the sun comes in the windows, and I set up a little grow table there and put my flats out in the house. And other than that, it's her domain, So what you've got is the first outdoor planting dates, your indoor seeding dates, and then the green checks over here on the right, they give you your expected harvest dates. Say that you want to take a vacation, you can look at your expected harvest dates and try to plan so that you're not traveling when you're going to be harvesting something that's really important to your family. Okay? Down below, on the lower section of the chart, you'll find a kind of a little legend to help you remember all of these things. All right? Now, if you're going to do a fall garden, you flip the chart over to the fall side and slide the frost line into position, and then LP gives you the last outdoor planting date for each garden vegetable. And, we have very good fall gardens at my house. And it seems like there's a lot less bugs, and I have a little more time to pay attention to it. And we do some canning. Last year we canned about 120 quarts of green beans, and we make our salsa in the fall. And you won't believe this, but there's some tomatoes still sitting on the countertop right now. My wife was picking through them for her salad this morning. She's a substitute teacher, and she was taking a salad with her. And the tomatoes came from our garden. We're still eating some Chinese cabbage. And all the seeds came from Baker Creek, yes. Okay. I like the Chinese cabbage. It's a new one for us, and we're eating it and enjoying it. So I seem to be getting off subject a little bit here. But this gives you your last planting dates so that you can have a nice fall garden, which, there's not a lot of people doing that, and I highly recommend it. Here's a little bit closer view of the slide. I took the chart off of it so you could just kind of see how the slide is. And over here on the left is your planting data, and here is the planting timing. Over on the right we have the yield and the natural companions, so that you can plant the companions close together. And let's take a look at some of this. If you pull the slide open and flip it over, you can see that all of your planting data is right there. Okay, the quantity of seed for a 10-foot row, the planting depth, how deep in the ground you should put your seeds, the distance between rows, like how far apart they should be so that the plants won't be interfering with one another, and the distance between plants after thinning, so that you don't crowd them in either direction, the rows or side by side. And then this is a new aspect of the chart here. We've added the minimum daily sunshine requirements. And you can see these are going to be your the round circle means it has to have full sun, and then partial circles are for partial sun. Okay. Flipping it up and taking a look at it on the spring side, and a lot of people do have shaded lawns, so that's why I put this slide in here. If you have a shaded lawn, you're going to have difficulty growing some of these full sun items. You should try doing the partial sun items, and you can still grow a lot of produce for your food for your family, And I had 6 kids, and one of the reasons I got started gardening was because I wanted to feed them and reduce the cost of feeding them. And I thought, well, the food's going to be more healthy if I grow it myself, and it's going to keep me home, and I won't be out golfing or fishing and spending money. Instead, I'll be finding a way to save money. And the gardening turned out to be a home run. Okay? Good for my family, good for me, and a good cost savings too. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that again, but if you don't have full sun, that's all right. Grow some of these early crops, and then those are also the ones that work really good in the fall. All right? If you're wondering how big your garden should be and how much produce you can get out of your garden, this line right here gives the approximate yield, and this is on the slide, okay? The approximate yield per 10-foot row, okay? So you can decide how many potatoes you want and then how long your rows need to be. Then if you're interested in doing companion planting, we've added that recently to the chart. And it's in blue lettering and it's over on the right side of the slide. And you can pick out your vegetable and then check over to see what are the natural companions. And you put up with me here for a minute. I'm going to page back to where you can see the whole chart. And here you go. You pick carrots, you come over and here's your companion planting. All right? So a lot of folks are interested in that, and it's a part of the design that when God made the world, He made some things that grow well together. We might as well take advantage of the design that He made. Okay, so I encourage companion planting. I think we need to explore that more. We were not taught that when I was younger. Okay. Now each chart comes with a set of instructions and kind of walks you through how to do it. And then on the back side, and it has some advice in there too from Clyde on gardening. On the back side, it has a national listing of frost dates throughout the United States. And also for Canada. If you are growing in Canada, my chart works for you. I got called by companies from Canada and they asked me to add the frost dates to it. So your frost dates for a large portion of Canada are also on the instructions. And you can see how they're listed by state and then by city. Then you have the spring frost date and the fall frost date. And even though it operates off the average, it incorporates the frost-free date. Here's a little closer view here. We were talking earlier, we kind of feel sorry for folks in Baltimore because their spring frost date is April 20th and their fall frost date is October 20th, and that doesn't give as much growing time as what we're used to here in Missouri. But you can see how this is provided with the chart. The thing that a lot of my customers like is they do not have to call somebody to find out when their frost dates are. They can look up a city nearby them and make a pretty good guess. And I'll just one other little word of caution there on that. If you live near a water body, your frost date's likely to be a little different. If you live down in a valley, yours might be just a little bit later. I live down in a river bottom valley here in Missouri in the Ozark Mountains, and I have to wait about a week just because we're right down there close to the river, probably 500 or 600 feet below the plateau. So now my chart is available online. You can buy it at Baker Creek or you can buy it from me directly. Okay, and we also have an iPhone app that includes the chart, but it's not as good as the paper copy right now. My son-in-law Dylan, he did the app, and he hasn't added the sunlight requirements, the expected yield, or the natural companions yet, but he's working on it. Okay, and it should be soon. Now, as long as we're here, Matt, would it be okay if I get everybody's motor going with some gardening ideas?
Yeah, do it.
All right. Well, one thing you might consider as you're getting prepared for your garden is to get a soil test done. In our area here, the local farmers co-op does it for you for $8. Okay, and you'll find out what the acidity of your soil is, what the cation exchange rate is, which is a kind of a number that calculates how well your soil will hold fertilizer. Okay, you want to know that. You also want to check the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium level, and the acidity of your soil, and how much organic matter is present in your soil. You know, the soil is the most important part of your garden, and you want to be able to know mathematically where it's at so that you can amend the soil and add the right things to it. You have a good garden. It's no fun if you neglect that part of it and then you find out that your produce isn't doing very well, and it's because the soil wasn't right, didn't get it right in advance. When we put our gardens in, we try to get some compost, and here's a 3-bin compost system on the sketch, and it's just to remind you, to get some compost in your soil and find a way to use your kitchen scraps to make good in the garden. When you set your garden up, try to do your rows from south to north, because the arc of the sun is a southern arc, and that way the items in your garden will be shaded less if you're running your rows north to south. Try to choose a level area where you get as much sunlight as possible. I use a kind of a raised hills. When it rains here in Missouri, we get so much rain at one time that it'll just wash the whole garden down to one end, So I raise my hills up about 8 inches and make them wide too, so that I can plant across them, and we get more produce out of that and less loss during the rains. If it gets wet and it stays wet, the seeds start to rot and they spoil in there. You want to get them up just a little bit. You want to till in some organic material, add a little bit of fertilizer to it, get your tomato cages ready. I use a string between 2 wooden stakes to get my rows straight after I till it and doing the raking to get a nice hill there. I also use a drip irrigation system. My garden is 40 by 80, and it cost me about $160 to buy the irrigation system, but the system uses like 70% less water, and it puts the water only on the plants, not on the weeds. So it was worth it, worth every penny, and it's lasted several years now, and I'm going to get more use out of it this year. Can hardly wait to get out there and get started. I also use a kind of a weaved weed block carpet. In Missouri, the weeds are terrible, and so I roll that out on my garden, and then I cut holes and plant down into it. It kind of holds down with some ground staples. You stick the staples into the ground and it holds the carpet down. And so we set up the irrigation system, lay out the carpet. Then here for my green beans, I'll put use cattle panels and T-posts, which were really cheap, just to get some used ones, and set up a lattice for pole beans. Did you know that pole beans produce like 2.5 times as many beans as a bush bean does? It's amazing. So you set up a lattice there and make a hill, get your irrigation system down through, and wait for the right time to put the beans outside in the ground. Now, don't forget, there's a really nice little handy chart that tells you when to put your beans in the ground. Okay. Also, it's a good idea to use some mulch, and some kind of straw is good, what we use in our area, but you can use several different kinds. You just try to stay away from leaves or wood shavings. At least don't use them every year because they add too much acid to your soil. But one nice thing about mulch is it holds the water in the soil, and if your summers are like ours, you need the water in the soil. So. Well, I guess that's all I have for now, and I hope I got your motor started, and hope you're able to make good use of my chart. Thank you for the opportunity, Matt.
Oh yeah,
and Baker Creek for to explain it. Matt's got some books to show you too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Clyde. If you guys are wanting that, you can go to rareseeds.com. You guys can add that to your order right now, and it's so worthwhile. I mean, it's something that can fit in your back pocket, that can completely change your garden planning and the way you feel about garden planning. This makes it easy, effortless, and like you said, you don't need to call on anyone. You can just use this. Awesome. I have one now too, so I won't be going without. All right. So Friday, if you recall, I was trying to, let me quickly turn this off right here. Friday I was trying to show you guys these 3 books. I was trying to do a book review. Let's see if I show up better now. All right. Do you guys see me? Can you guys see the book? Not really? Hold on. I'm going to quickly turn on the lights. All right. Here we go. The sun came out. All right. So I want to talk about these 3 books. Mycelium Running, Radical Mycology, which is currently out of print and sold out right now. Organic Mushroom Farming, and MycoRemediation. What's really incredible about these books is they all do something unique and exciting. So probably one of the most well-known people in mycology right now is Paul Stamets. And Mycelium Running is a book that I've seen recommended everywhere. Let me get up close here, tilt it back so you guys can see it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a really beautiful book. It's got really unbelievable examples of the way mycology influences our world and could radically change the world we live in for the better. And this is like a tour de force of what mycology can do. I mean, the title really tells you that, how mushrooms can save the world. And if we look in here, it's really pretty simple. It's really pretty direct. It talks about, the way mycelium works, the way mushrooms work in nature, how they're medicinal, their life cycle, and it's mushrooms' life cycle, not all fungi. So that's Basidium mycota, really, they're talking about there. And then mycofiltration, so mycoremediation, mycoforestry, the role that we can use mushrooms in forestry and mycelium in forestry, mycoremediation, like we were talking about with mycofiltration. It's very, very similar. And that's just a basic property of mushrooms, is that they'll filter things out. And then mycopesticides, which is really something that Paul stumbled upon when he lost his house. His house was being infested, and he basically figured out how to get rid of them with fungi. He lost his house in the process, but it makes for a really great story. Paul is one of the best storytellers in mycology, and that's why he does so many conferences and talks, and that's why we love Paul, And this takes you through just a couple of things here. Inoculation methods, spores spawn, stem butts, and then it talks about straw, logs, and then gourmet medicinal mushrooms in the garden. And then nutritional, aspects of mushrooms, and then a bunch of species that it goes over. A bunch of them do this. I've noticed that they always include a guide for you to look through and identify mushrooms, because that's one of the hardest parts about mushrooms, is knowing who is who. And so it's really important that we understand who is who. And so that's why they all include those. This really is like touching upon the surface, though, and it's exciting. It's got all this stuff. It's big picture. He even talks about dealing with nuclear waste and radioactivity and munitions and oil spills, and it's very incredible stuff. It only has a little bit of mushroom cultivation stuff in it. It's heavy on inspiration, big picture, but this is so full of how-to that it makes this seem less useful. It's full of inspiration, it's useful in that manifestation, and it gives you tons of ideas as to what fungi and mycology can do for the rest of the world. So this is not to be ignored, not to be slighted in any degree, but it's just different than this. This is a detailed, it says exactly what it is. It's organic mushroom farming and mycoremediation. And so it really just dives right into that. It talks about, the life cycle of mushrooms. It's just getting close. It talks about the life cycle of mushrooms, just like the other one does. But then it talks about, choosing mushrooms to cultivate, choosing how to handle and store them, choosing, what your medium is going to be, whether it's, compost or pasteurized, sterilized, substrate like wood chips or something like that. It's all in here. It takes you through every single step. And then on top of that, we see, natural pest control and disease management. This is for your cultivation. You could start a farm with the information here. And here, this goes through recycling, which is like MycoRemediation, like we talked about in the other one. But then there's urban mushroom cultivation, shrooming off the grid, mushrooms, products, cutting edge applications, infused with beer, wine, spirits, mushroom marketing. So if you're starting off with mushrooms, it's going to take you through how to run a farm, then start how to market that new business that you're starting. This is incredible, and I'll take you through some pictures in a second here. Fungi in the classroom. So if you're teaching about this sort of thing, this is going to give you information that you're going to be able to apply in the classroom, which is pretty incredible. And then it finally ends with advanced techniques and research. So this is basics in the laboratory. This is how to make your own agar. And then, as you notice here, it says morel cultivation, which is really good because it's separate from mushroom cultivation. And the mushroom cultivation is going to be kind of ubiquitous for Basidiomycota, which is one phyla. And then Ascomycota is different, and they have a different life cycle. So it's really important that he put morels there because they're part of Ascomycota. So just looking at this for a second, this one is also absolutely incredibly beautiful. It's really, really breathtaking. These are oysters.
Really?
Yeah, these are oyster mushrooms. And it takes you through tons of cultivation methods. There's a one, let's see if I can quickly find it, growing. I mean, here's the classic growing on stumps, right? We got steps with each picture with a step. Fumbling with that one. And then, they've got pictures on what would happen. Whoa, there we go. Let me tilt it. What would happen if you're using cardboard? That's a King Stropharia mushroom patch looks like, on wood chips. So I was right. King Stropharia. Beautiful, beautiful wine cap mushrooms. We grew those at home. It's my son's favorite. So it goes through so much in this. Here's a sterilization setup right here. I'm looking for this one thing where he's growing on a pair of jeans. And I love that idea. It's like, yeah, you should compost your clothing, your cardboard, your paper waste, all of it, right? And then he dives into the laboratory, which is, much further along than Paul went. This is much further down the rabbit hole. This is much more useful. Making agar, right? With boiling potatoes to make homemade agar. This is very, very cool stuff. So this book is infinitely usable. It does stop at a certain point. Even though it is advanced and it is awesome, and Trad Cotter, who's also Mushroom Mountain, is his company, and I should do due diligence here, and Paul Stamets is Fungi Perfecti. I think it's fungi.com. He's been around a long, long time. So that's why he's so inspirational. He's got all those good stories. So this really is going to take you to a completely different level than that other one would. Here's the morel section right here. Everyone loves morels, right? All right. So I love this book. This is actually the first mushroom book I got, and this was recommended by the next author. So when the next author was still writing his book, he recommended this book to me to read. And Mycelium running is big picture, so it's not going to give you like as much how-to. Like there's like 4 how-tos in here. Well, here there's over 1,000 how-tos. Likely more. Now this book is my favorite mycology book, mushroom book in the entire world, and it is out of print. It was released last year and it's sold out already. I really hope that he comes out with a new edition so that everyone can enjoy this, or releases the digital. This is an incredible piece of work that he spent, I think, over 2 years just writing. Not even just researching and learning about this, because he'd already done that with his life and his time here on Earth. But this is something that took an immense amount of work. And this combines both Trad Cotter's in-depth cultivation, remediation, understanding, how to, step by step, with the big picture, the excitement, the super high level science, remediation, all that stuff that's in Paul's is in here. And it's organized. It's organized scientifically, so it's not just telling you things like factoid, factoid, factoid. It takes you. It starts off by taking you through the phyla, and those are above families in the way we categorize things, and then it starts breaking apart our understanding of categorization so that you can understand the complexity of mycology. And what's really crazy is there's so many unknowns in mycology. Mycology is only 70 years old as a science. We've been using mushrooms and fungi in humanity and partnering with it for so long that it's absolutely insane that we're at this point in this time period and we're just learning things like I'm comprised of fungi just as you are, just as all plant material that we've tested so far. Endophytic fungi is in everything. The first plant cell was fungi eating a cyanobacteria. The first tree was likely more fungi than plant cell. Before there were trees on Earth, there were mushrooms that were 2 stories tall. Before white rot came to be, the trees piled up all over. And then when white rot came to be, it rotted and made soil. Amazing, amazing, successional, incredible things that it's always been here and part of the system around us, but we've never noticed. And this book provides the context, the sources. It is so well cited. And it's written so humbly and judiciously. I mean, he brings you right up to the edge of the research and says, well, we don't know why the Spitzenkorper works the way it does. It seems to be constantly exploding with super high pressure, like the pressure in a tire at the tip of the hyphae where it's spreading underground, the mycorrhizal fungi. But at the same time, it's contained, and we don't know even how that works. So, and one of the theories is that it's bioelectrical. And so it's instantaneously moving like an electrical signal. Furthermore, talking about the categorization part, there's AMF, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, is one of the oldest fungi in the world. It's responsible for so much that we have in our, so a third of the carbon in the soil is arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, putting out carbon that it gets into the soil in a stable manner to create soil structure. So our soil structure has to do with arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, as does carbon sequestration. But what's crazy is they collect nuclei. Now, this concept of dikaryotic, you may have heard before, but this dikaryotic state is extended. It's not like when 2 things merge and then they carry on a dikaryotic state and then they merge and then they mate and make new things. We don't understand how it's working, or we don't understand how it's choosing which nuclei to use. And if it's choosing, who is choosing? What function is choosing the different nuclei? It totally throws out this whole idea that the nuclei is the brain out, when it can collect multiple nuclei and fluidly move between them. It's amazing and humbling, the mystery that there is out there in nature. And we don't engage in it in schools. We tend to want things neat and tidy and linear and fit and like in that categorization section, there are mushrooms and fungi there are fungi that don't have a category, which seems kind of crazy, right? It's like we don't know where they belong. And, accepting that as part of our reality is actually pretty healthy, I think, because it opens us up to new ideas, to creating new ideas, and seeing new things. So the way this is laid out is absolutely fascinating. Let me just dive in here. So it's separated out with expression, connection, collaboration, and integration. It is very different than those other books. It takes you through the history of fungi. It takes you through the human history. It takes you through the geological history. it also has unbelievable pictures. So the beauty that, fungi have to offer us, and the colors, the medicines, they can cure cancer. It's been proven. That's why the FDA is doing turkey tail clinical trials right now. And in fact, Paul Stamets tells a story of the fact that his mom was dying of cancer, and he got her into the FDA trials for turkey tail mushrooms and cured her cancer. And this is his mom. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's got great stories because they're his life, and he lives a great life. You know what I mean? And so this is just in the sense of like inspiration, understanding who we are, where we're going. This book radically changes everyone's perspective who reads it. And then on top of that, you have stuff like this. And yes, those are cigarette butts, and yes, that is mushrooms eating them. We can remediate our world because in many ways our world was shaped using fungi as architects and guides for decomposition and enhancing growth. When mycorrhizal fungi partners with the roots of a plant, they increase the root surface area by 1,000 times. And then on top of that, they increase absorption of nutrients to an incredible degree, making certain things that were impossible for them to absorb absorbable. And then it takes you through all these crazy, and I say crazy in the best sort of way, cultivation things. So something in here, and it's so encyclopedic that I'm just going through and just grabbing things. This is backing up your cultures. He goes through liquid culture, and let's see if I can find this here. He goes through liquid culture growing. Let's see, is it right there? Yeah. Here, this is a bin where he's growing right here. There's lots of different ways to grow mushrooms. You can be growing on cardboard grains. You can grow it in plastic containers, cardboard containers, wooden containers. You can do that thing where you are hanging them in bags, like right there. You guys see that? Let me move my finger there. Okay. And I'm trying to find this one where you guys can see what I'm talking about. So there's this thing called liquid. All right. So the way this works is it's these airport lids. And these airport lids, you can see them there. He's putting a syringe right into the lid. And it's going through this silicone. And he's able to inject directly onto the grains. So it's like a clean room in a jar. So suddenly, instead of that whole laboratory that Trad had set up, you've got a jar that you can put into an autoclave and sterilize, and you can put the top on, and then it's sterilized. Sterilize the lid and you put it on. And so you can actually you can inject all these different ones, and obviously you have to sterilize the needle. But you can cleanly inject all these things without fear of contamination. You can grow in them, and you can scale up your mycelium in a liquid format. And that allows you to go three-dimensional, and it's all food. So you have an incredible amount of surface area to grow on. And what happens is you get way more mycelium than you would get if you were growing it on like rice. So for instance, Paul Stamets has that medicinal mushroom line in Whole Foods and other health food stores. They're really good. I take them. But they're all grown on rice or other grains. And so it's like you're mostly eating dehydrated rice with a little bit of mycelium on it. What Peter shares in his book is that you can create liquid mycelium, so it's pure mycelium, and it doesn't have any of that extra matter in it. And so it's like over 1,000 times as potent, and it's pure, and you can take that out, that living body, that mycelium, and you could put it onto a glass plate and dry it, and then you could chop that up and put it into pills, and you have a very, very potent, food-safe medicine that anyone can make at home for pennies. This is just one of the many, 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 many things in here. I just can't do this book justice. It of course in the back has an incredible. There's cultivation forms. It takes you through so many different types of fungi and their needs. If you were going to start a business, if you were going to start a home growing system, if you were going to look into mushrooms for health, if you wanted to study mushrooms in depth, this is not just a year of college. This would be an entire major in college in mycology. Question?
Yeah, I was curious about some of the funguses are dangerous. Does he cover those?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, the thing is, most of the fungi that is dangerous, poisonous mushrooms are actually quite rare if you actually look at the numbers. Yeah, they may be all over your backyard. But the numbers of population-wise compared to all the other different types of fungi are quite limited. And then even more limited would be the food, like ones that we eat for food.
Yeah.
There's only like 60 or 70 ones that we commercially eat for food.
Right.
Yeah, it's and what's possible is really unknown at this point because it's so new. The fact that someone who is not like Paul Stamets, who uses universities and the Department of, on the back here, he has Bioterrorism Institute. He's got Michael Pollan. He's got, the Bioneers, Rocky Mountain Institute, Ocean Arcs International. He's all over the map. He is very prestigious. People know him in government. You know what I mean? He's very well known. This is a person that, started DIY, started working with communities, and he's a person that's just trying to make the information available for everyone. And look at the work he did.
Yeah.
This is a miracle. This is an incredible work that Peter has gifted to us all with his time and his effort and his sacrifice. And I don't know what I would do without this book, because for me, this book rewrote my book. I had already read these books, and I was like, yeah, I got it. I understand it. Nope. I read this and was like, okay, Peter, I'm going to be rewriting my book now. And he kind of chuckled, and he was like, oh, I'm glad you're finding it useful and everything. And then Peter went and read my book several times and gave me lots of advice on how to integrate these things. And then I went through his information with Dr. Elaine Ingham, the soil scientist, and I started having the two have questions back through me as the intermediary. And I learned so much diving in deeper and finding the limits, because the limits of the research are right there when you read this. Because you're like, oh, but what about this? You're like, nope, that hasn't been tried yet. Oh, but what? Yeah, we're right there. You can all participate in these experiments. And all these gardening ideas we're talking about are innovations that are techniques that are applied principles. So that's why we keep talking about them, because if we get these principles out there enough and we have young people working with them, there's going to be books like these coming out every year on all these topics, whether it's crop rotation, whether it's seed saving, whether it's mushrooms, whether it's mycology in general. We're going to see a revolution happen. And it's all about just sharing that information and studying and finding and sticking to the principles. And that's what's so powerful about this. So I really hope you guys check this book out. I really hope that it comes back soon into print. But until it does, you kind of get some of what's in it. Some, not all, not at all from this. And it's skinnier, it's an easier read, but this is an inspiration. And this is the practical application. So I highly recommend these books. They're absolutely superb. I wouldn't get rid of any of them. I love them all. And they're all very different. A lot of people are like, which one's the best? Which one's the best? When they look for books. And I would say they're very different. These ones especially are very, very different. Radical Mycology is very unique in the fact that it almost does everything. it's like a college textbook or a major all-in-one book that could be broken up into about 12 or 15 books on its own. So thank you guys so much for joining us. That was so fun having Clyde here. That was really, really awesome. It was awesome because now I can highly recommend things for so many of you out there that you're like, oh, I don't know when to do this, I don't know when to do that. It's like, well, here's the general rule of thumb. And you guys can use that to go off of. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week. And Shannon will be on later this week, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I might come back Friday. So have a wonderful week, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.